think we need to hear more about his puppy, right? Right? Right with you? Guys, we're getting into Kelazhur versus Denver. It's me, Zombie Grub, with my best pal, Rotterdam, bringing you this amazing last knockout bracket match on the stage. Who actually is going to be able to advance here? Denver coming actually far from the knockout bracket. He's been really, having to hold on just barely, but Kelazhur getting dropped down from that group stage. We are on him right now in the top left on Disco Bloodbath. It is the Blue Terran, Kelazhur.
No stranger to these events, no stranger to deep runs. Even though he's never made it to like a semi-final or a final, he's been there so often. This man, slightly newer, but slowly but steady becoming a veteran himself. In the right bottom side, hailing from France, it is Denver. Denver's had an interesting tournament so far because he already made a sarcastic tweet as in like playing better than ever, XD. So then you take a look at the results and it obviously means that he lost twice in the group stage. Lost against Jon Snow 2-0. That's not something I think we would expect from Denver. But he's been getting it together and putting together a pretty good run throughout that knockout bracket. And I just want to touch on his run at the most recent WCS summer real quick, because it kind of went under the radar. There's so many games happening, but he actually had a really good performance, made it into the round of 16, then he fell 0-2 against Serral, then he won the map, and he was actually super duper far ahead in game 4. And then I always believed that if you win 2 games in a row after being down 0-2, there is a chance, like, what could have been, right? Like, if he just, would have taken advantage of that massive lead he created for himself, he actually was very close to a massive upset. He's really cute, by the way. So Denver, obviously expecting himself to do good stuff again. He didn't come here to like a round of 32 or maybe a round of 24. No, he wants to make at least top 16 again and potentially break into the top 8 for the first time in his career.
Yeah, absolutely. Denver has had some really great runs and then just stopped just short, never really proving himself like that next big European Zerg. I mean, there's so many of them, right? Yeah. But always like, he also brings in this really cool play. So I think if you haven't seen his play before, guys, you're actually gonna have a lot of fun. And then Kelazhur, talk about him for a second. Yeah, the guys on the desk already kind of did this, but TLDR is that he's not exactly full-time, but he is still playing pretty darn well. He did get to group stage 3 and was knocked down here. So he actually advanced farther than Denver than that. So he's got the chance to continue on, but both these guys, should they continue on, whoever it is, like we are still talking about so many other names, like they really still have to prove themselves. I think they could. We are starting on the map, actually, I don't think I've got to cast this quite yet. Disco Bloodbath, I believe it's the biggest map in the map pool now. Thunderbird, very, very close second. It's actually surprisingly large, and I wonder if that's going to play to Kelazhur maybe playing mech. We do have a double Reaper opener. Kelazhur was one of those guys definitely loving the Reapers for a while there. But this is always unique to see. It doesn't add so much to that early game, but here, you see him actually go into the main base, not just using them for scouting, trying to get some drones. It's going to be unsuccessful, however.
Yeah, I think you guys at home are going to have a lot of fun watching this series, because Denver is a cool Zerg. He does a lot of weird, unique stuff, but Kelazhur is just always action, man. This is one of the most entertaining Terrans to watch in the foreign scene. There is never a dull series with Kelazhur. He has 1 speed, 1 gear, go, epic attack. That's basically all he does. But obviously you need a little setup as a Terran player. You can't just immediately rally everything to the other side of the map. A bit sloppy there, of course, losing one of those Reapers, but it's all going to be about the follow-up, and let's see if he goes mech. Okay, that's a fusion core opening. I mean, it's a very big map, but Overlord speed is done, and Denver should be able to scout this.
Oh, that might just be a fate.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, but the Overlord speed, like, unfortunately, there's just not really anything to kill it that quickly. The Viking, if it does pop out, it does guarantee the kill eventually.
Is that
but it should be able to come back in.
Nest, you say?
I think he might be a little afraid of an armory, which is a little like we saw that yesterday from Hero Marine, and I was surprised to see it.
Are you seriously telling me that with Overlord speed, he's not going to see a fusion core that's in the back of the natural?
That would be a big mistake.
That's impressive, actually. Like, it's harder to miss it than to see it.
So he already knows that something is up, right? Just because there's no third CC quite down. He sees a lot of supply depots going down instead. But I don't think he's misreading this necessarily as a Hellbat attack. I mean, it is surprising. I see Rotterdam here. He's like really exasperated. That he didn't see that fusion core, but perhaps initially he was worried it was Hellbats. I think now he's like, wait a second, it's battlecruisers. That's what everyone's doing. So going back in, but there's a Roach Warren instead of a Baneling Nest. He has been producing a decent number of queens. Now he sees that Tech Lab not researching. It's still on the starport. He should know it's up.
Yeah, exactly. He canceled the Baneling Nest and replaced it with the Roach Warren after he saw that the Tech Lab was no longer connected to the barracks and was no longer researching Stim, so you were spot on. That was indeed a fake. We'll see how this plays out in the end. Queen count is obviously going to be very important. Denver is the kind of Zerg as well that if he feels like he defended something all right, some days he can just go super crazy and immediately drop a Nidus network as well and try to win on the other side of the map. But this is a very big map. You don't really want to rally units, so if you do want to be aggressive, Nidus is pretty much the only choice. Otherwise, you're going to be like, all right, this is going to be a long one.
Yeah. And it is going to be following up with the mech, which I mentioned this yesterday. Does seem to be what's really quite scary to Zerg players nowadays. The next big question we'll have is if how successfully this battlecruiser is actually able to do damage. It's sometimes not about the battlecruiser though. The Hellions have to be safeguarded. Denver is actually coming back around. Might find them not being microed, but the main base is not being paid attention to either. So. Kind of nothing's happening from Denver, and Kelazhur is getting all the rewards here. 8 drones go down, a lot of lost mining time. More drones are going to go down here. The Queens will survive. It looks like that one should die. Yeah, oh no, transfuse coming in from the reinforcement Queens, but that took a very, very long time. Thankfully, the Lings and Roaches are in position to take care of the Hellions, however, so it is just those 11 drones?
Yeah, he's got to be careful with the Lings, because if he loses the Lings, it's only a couple of Roaches here, and the Queens are way out of position, but in the end, Denver sort of salvages that all right. But yeah, that looked a bit clumsy, right? It looked a bit painful. Definitely didn't feel like the way you want to defend that first battlecruiser.
Yeah. It was a little bit awkward. It's a little weird, right? Because a lot of the time that battlecruiser does go to the main base. But again, yesterday we saw that Hero Marine even just kind of played very reserved and just kind of skirted around the creep spread. So maybe that's what Denver was expecting. But his Queens were awfully late to the party.
That's so many Hellions, by the way. You don't often see that. Just like, what is that, 14 Hellions in the middle of the map?
Yes, it is. 16 Hellions now out here. That is a bit unique. We should see a follow-up of at least a couple of Cyclones, but I actually think Kelazhur is taking quite a while to get his third CC on location. Did he ever build a third CC? Yeah, there it is. I was going to say, hold on. Yeah, that's a little late, it feels like. I feel like that could have already been down on location, building gases as well. Like, you want to get those down as soon as possible. And then the Cyclones also might have been, or the factories would have produced faster than the Cyclones produced faster. But that's maybe not so much of a worry. We do not have Denver going for a Spire response to this. In fact, he goes right into Infestors and Neural Parasites.
Yeah, if I think of Denver, I don't think of him as necessarily a late game expert. I actually think he's slightly stronger in like early mid game, and early late game. I think that's where he shines a little bit more. But I do feel like he's become a little more patient over the last year, I'd say. And I've seen quite a few games where he's actually okay with like almost swallowing the entire map in creep and then just setting up a contain with spore crawlers. He's like, okay, I don't like attacking into mech, but I'll make damn sure that you can't move out. And the moment you move out, you're basically attacking into me. But that's very, very hard to achieve on a map that is as large as this one. As we've got 3 battlecruisers in the main base. The Queens are not putting up. This is actually starting to get pretty damn bad, man.
Yeah,
Denver.
that scan reveals what's coming to defend. He sees a lot of Queens. He, of course, saw the Infestors. It's a little scary that Fungal going to stop him from retreating, and then perhaps a Neural Parasite, but he wouldn't know that's not done quite yet. Nice little Roach run by. He's going to find, again, you're talking about mostly Hellbats. 2 tanks finally pop out to help, and it's just a small number of Roaches, so it will be cleaned up, but more importantly, those battlecruisers were sent away, at least temporarily.
Like, I would actually like to see Kelazhur start rallying stuff to the other side of the map now. Even though that may not have been his plan initially, but this game has gone so damn good, it would be a real shame. I hate it when I feel like players have a really good start and then they're like, all right, let's drag this game out until I'm at like 5 bases and maxed out. It's like, no, all the hard work then goes up in vain almost. Like, you look at Kelazhur's army right now, it's better, it's stronger. Start using those tanks, start using those Hellions, because I actually believe you're going to be able to achieve a lot. Worst comes to worst, you force your opponent to make 1,000,000 Roaches they don't want to make in the first place.
Well, I gotta say, I think Kelazhur is just like having some macro here. Their RTC could have been faster. He's still not on 5 factory production.
By the way, he's going to pick up all the queens.
His battle cruisers are doing the job for him, but we see he's even banking a couple minerals. So they're doing great jobs harassing. And speaking of harassment, that is a lot of Hellions. Bit overkill. In fact, the Badgers have to come back because the Roach Ravager Force is in his 3rd basic, and they'll grab the SCVs, but they will be cleaned up eventually.
This is still no bueno for Denver, I think. Like, yes, he's getting a lot of SCVs on the other side of the map, but these Roaches and Ravagers will go down eventually, but he's losing a lot of drones. And if a Zerg player is around 120 supply, and then you're only at 50 drones with no money in the bank, that's where things become very painful. This may have looked all right for Denver, but I actually think this is very bad for him.
His unit composition is actually quite poor. You know, I know the hot topic is infestors, and that's, I guess, why he wanted to go so quick into them, try and grab the battle cruisers, get them out of the equation quickly. It just didn't work out that way. He never grabbed them, and then he was on basically Roaches, as the infestors weren't helping against. There was no Cyclones coming around, bebopping around. It's been tank Hellion, and they were doing some great damage. And now Kelazhur just, again, like, as you said, the supply doesn't look so one-sided.
The supply is lying, okay, Todd?
Yes.
I know that Todd doesn't believe in it. He always believes in the soup, but this time the supply is lying. Can we take a look at army value, maybe, Mapu? Could you show us that real quick? It's a little bit more gas on the side of Kelazhur, as he did just lose a couple of tanks, but with these Roaches, Denver is going to run out of steam. And I just don't really see the point of him sending Roaches to the other side of the map here on Disco Bloodbath. Like, yes, he's buying time. And if he's sitting on 5 bases, 80 drones, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. You know, you want to get infestors out, you want to get more energy out, but this is like, this does not look good to me at all. A Zerg with no money in the bank, 120 supply, and he's lost so many queens. I feel like 12 queens or something have gone down in this game. 5, 6 infestors. It's actually only 6. It feels like it was way more than that.
Yeah, well, the battle cruisers got such free reign over the main. I can definitely see that. A lot of workers have died in the making of this game, but they're certainly worse for Denver. I mean, I think Kelazhur is only even looking like he's struggling. I guess Denver's doing this because he keeps seeing like a potential opportunity, but that's not even true because the battle cruisers are still around.
Yep.
So even if he does delay the 3rd base, the battle cruisers still will win that army fight no matter what. He has no response to them.
Yeah, one thing we have to mention, I guess, and that is like a trump card up his sleeve, is that he's got Neuroparasite, right? So if Kelazhur does make a boo-boo with his battle cruisers, you can maybe neuro them, you can hide them above a couple spore crawlers, and then suddenly it's anybody's game again, because it is very difficult with tanks and Hellions to go to the other side of the map. But I'd be lying to you guys at home if I'd be like, yeah, I could totally see that happen, because I even feel like if he neuros right now, he doesn't even have the DPS to kill those battle cruisers.
Exactly. That's actually a super big problem. Of course, Infested Terrans are very useful if he gets more infestors. But I'm just more concerned of like, well, yeah, the battle cruisers are doing great. They constantly get into this main base. 3 spore crawlers are made to try and help out, but that won't work against 4 battle cruisers. But it's like, okay, you take care of the battle cruisers, you still have a pretty lame army against what is a growing, almost maxed out mech army.
I must say I love these scans, right? Like, he's keeping track of these infestors very, very well done. Kelazhur is obviously not his first rodeo. He's played a lot of games with battle cruisers. He knows how to throw away a lead in scenarios like this. He's at 90 SCVs at this point. A couple of Hellions are going to show up. Kelazhur is playing a very impressive first game, and Denver, it's one of these games where this is a big tournament. You don't want to leave. But if this is a ladder game, I really think that Denver would have been out of this by now.
No, I absolutely agree. I think around the same time he's just continuing to throw Roaches, would have just been like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Next game. But he does catch a couple of SCVs, I guess, transferring to a potential 5th. Oh my God. But, there it is.
Okay.
There it is.
But does he have the DPS right now?
No. No, he does not. And they teleport away. I mean, no Infested Terrans will put down preemptively. They don't teleport very, very far, and there are more infestors here, but it's actually going to turn them a little bit.
That's a good combination.
Not bad, not bad. But then it goes back to my point. We're like, okay, now you have Roach, Ravager, Infestor against what is actually a really great mech army, about to have that +2 attack as well. He is catching Kelazhur in an awkward scenario, though, where he wasn't quite prepared to take this engagement. And the Fungals are very effective against the growing Cyclone count. Here come the tanks now. Are they a little too late, though?
No, they're not. Close your eyes,
they're
okay?
good.
This Zerg army is about to disappear. Like, this is a very uninspiring attack, I think, by Denver, who's starting to really run out of steam in this game. He's still down 16 workers, making more Roaches. Like, if this is a smaller map, I can sort of see, you know, a Hail Mary play. Like, all right, go for it, Roaches, and you suddenly get the tanks, and you get on top of the production. But on Disco Bloodbath, that's just most likely not going to work. And I do understand you want to stay in this game, right? You want to start getting comfortable on the main stage, and you're hoping for a miracle. But Denver is going to have to step up his game quite a bit in game 2 and 3 if he wants to take out Kelazhur here, because this is not looking good.
It's such a funny flip of what I expected too, you know? Like usually it's all about oh, the Terran player can't make it across the map and the Zerg's buying all this time. And then instead it's Denver being that guy. And then unfortunately, I think it would have been better if he had just been well, I hope it's a big enough map that it doesn't attack me. And I hope that I wish he had been greedy and just gone into a lot of drones, try and recover, and then try and tech up. But it's just been nothing but Roach Ravager with those infestors that have not had their highlight moment, really. Even finding the battlecruisers wasn't enough.
Yeah, I guess to his defense is maybe I'm being a little bit hard on Denver, but I actually really like Denver, guys. I'm a little fanboy. That's why I know how good he is. He did lose a lot of drones, right? He tried, but he lost 46 drones to the combination. The first BC, that's what it all started with. That BC was doing so good. Did so much economic damage, direct and indirect, got a couple queens as well. Denver is going to try to set up a surround. There's a couple of links coming from the right side as well. And without the battle cruisers, I mean, it looks cool, but then I look at the supply. I'm following Tal's advice right now, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably still not good enough. But all things considered, I feel like Denver got the best out of an impossible scenario there.
Yes, he did. The Lings jumping on top of the tanks, there's not really a lot of Hellbats. That was the best opportunity you could have. One last hurrah, potentially. Does not really have the bank behind this to go into that spire that's about to finish. But this was just a clumsy game, you know? I absolutely would love for him to tap out just so that I know that his mental state's okay. There's finally the tap out. Kelazhur taking game number 1 of that battlecruiser opener, but Denver, not happy. I think he needs to kind of reset and just say that was that game was done for a while. Let's just forget about it.
But I think we've all been there as StarCraft players as well. It just often feels like, you're ready, and it doesn't really matter what matchup it is, but it's okay, I know that the first thing that's going to happen is X. I have to defend X well, and you're mentally preparing for it, and then whether it's a Widow Mine drop or a Zergling run by, a Baneling boss, or in this case that first BC did too much, and I feel from that point on, Denver was never in control. He was following the pace of Diego, and I must say Kelazhur played a very beautiful game because he never got overeager. He was patient. How often do you see Terran players I've got 16 aliens, but that's okay because everything else is going fine. So I really loved everything that Kelazhur showed us there.
Yeah, he was particularly good about that. Thank you very much, guys in the crowd. And you're all excited to be here. The second game is about to get started, but Kelazhur played a great game, but I'm just continue going back to that first battlecruiser, and then the Baneling Nest response that was canceled.
Yeah, I think he saw this team, right? And then he's just in case he's actually playing bio. I think Denver's going to be all right. It's a game 1 of a best of 5. We have seen comebacks. We've seen way bigger comebacks. But I do agree with you, reset. Let's forget about that one and reset it. Denver plays a lot, I think, of ZVT as well. I know people often say, Europe has no Terrans, but that's really not that true anymore, I feel. Clem is grinding like an absolute mad lad. So is always playing a lot of games. I mean, even the Muslim, even though he's not a professional player anymore, the Muslim plays a lot of games against Denver as well. You've got Utomo, you've got Big Gabe, the European Terrans. Diego, to some degree, is a European Terran right now, because he lives in the Netherlands.
Yep.
Denver definitely does have the practice in this matchup, and he definitely has the skills to, give Diego a very good run for its money. I still think this is going to be a very close best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it is a best of 5, so you do have a little bit more of that, just okay, take a breath. It's not the biggest of deals here. Game number 2 is going to be on Winter's Gate. In the bottom right, up 1 as the Blue Terran, he is Kelazhur.
Looked good in game 1. Looked very, very good. For all the little mistakes we spotted from Denver, it was this man who just basically made all the right moves. In the left top side, we're looking at one of those many good European Zerg players representing Infinity Gaming. It is Denver. Every single time I meet him on the ladder, I'm like, hello, Denver, Colorado. And then after 7 times, he replied to me, he's like, please stop calling me that, with a sad face. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It's a bad thing. It's this is the first thing I think of when I see the nickname Denver.
Yeah, he knows like a dinosaur, which I had no idea about. Everyone else told me about. But when I brought up the Baneling Nest, though, it wasn't so much that was a very convincing fake or anything. It was just, I do wonder if Denver was anticipating Hellbats, because these guys have played recently. And while we didn't get to see those games or some online tournaments and whatnot, I do wonder if Kelazhur maybe is really mixing things up, because nowadays it is the expectation that it's battlecruisers and that they don't care if they're being scouted either with the faster overlord speed or more common overlord speed. They're just going to go battlecruisers, especially as the maps seem larger. So if Kelazhur is the type that's like, yeah, you're expecting it, and that's why I go for an armory more often, and then Denver has that in his brain. It just didn't feel like, even from that point, yes, there was the fake stim, but it just felt from that point Denver was already anticipating a different type of match, and that's what set him off to not have those queens in that main position, which almost every Zerg anticipates the battlecruiser in the main once they've figured it out that it is BCs.
I mean, it's just pretty bizarre that you open Overlord speed and you have 2 Overlords flying around and you somehow don't spot the fusion core. I mean, is that unlucky? It's like, no, actually, that's just a mistake, because there's nothing the Terran player can do in that phase in the game to prevent it. So it's really the ball is in the Zerg player's corner. It's like, hey, just send your Overlord actually around. But it kept seeing the same location and never actually went behind the middle line in the expand. But it's all good, Chi. We have loaded into Winter's Gate. What do you think about Winter's Gate, Jess?
I personally do not like playing on it, but I think it is very interesting to watch the pros tackle the inhibitor zones. So it's like a short map from your third to your third, which they both usually take the same third here, but it doesn't seem to really ever play out that way as we get to 4 bases more commonly nowadays, right? And then you do have just the ability for like creep spread and surround potential to make sure that there's not really a devastating push. And then for the Terran side, like the inhibitor zone plus the rocks is almost like a wall in and of itself. So it's a very interesting map. You can see what like the map makers are going for. It's complex. It's a different way of making the map work. We even have inhibitor zones off there, as you can see. So drops will be less potent if Kelazhur were to go into bio.
I kind of like this double Reaper opening. Kelazhur is getting some good value out of it. Once you get one more drone, does get another drone. Denver, what are we doing here, my friend? That's 3 drones going down to 4 drones. Are you kidding me? That's actually so good.
Yeah, that's really quite good. I mean, he always tries to go into the main base with those 2 Reapers, but I think also the delay on the 3rd hatchery, it's already obnoxious when 1 Reaper is there blocking you out, but then if there's 2, there's even a higher potential of killing the creep tumor, and then they just hop into the main base if they can't do anything there. It's surprisingly annoying.
Oh, come on.
No, not again.
Come on.
Not again. Everything looks quite this, like he might start stim to fake him out. Yes, he does, but come on, like you got to be like, well, that happened last time. Like, let me recheck. You got to recheck. Okay, there it is.
There you go, Denver.
All right. Again, I think this time around he would have been like, you know what? I think it is battlecruisers even without seeing it, but it is fantastic to get the confirmation. We actually had Denver take the 3rd base to the bottom left, so that's interesting.
I don't know how much Warcraft 3 you played in your life, but my favorite hero always said, seeing is believing. So it's still good to see it, Jess.
It's a Farseer, right?
Absolutely.
Nice. But yeah, this is, I love seeing the new adaptations to the bases as well from all of the races as we get the new maps. So I wonder, I mean, that does decrease, I guess, the speed of which the 3rd base attack can happen, but very, very interesting. The Hellions are going to find it, of course. It's a lot of creeps. A big concave if Kelazhur were to push into this, but it's not really so much a push, right? It's a battlecruiser once again going to be teleporting into the main base. He just witnessed the queens at the 3rd, so there might be a grand opportunity. He probably will just continue to recheck that.
Yep, this next minute in this game, or next 2-3 minutes are going to be very important. Let's see if Denver can clean up his defenses compared to game 1. Let's see if he doesn't end up losing that many drones, that much mining time, and all the good stuff. Now there is actually stim on the way, by the way.
Yeah.
So Kelazhur is definitely switching it up. Additional barracks is being built as well. Obviously, this map is a lot smaller, so maybe that's what triggers Diego to play some bio. The only thing I really hate is, you mentioned it, those zones around the main base. It's actually so frustrating. I mean, I think some people are aware of the fact that I really like building Phoenixes. You don't know how many Phoenixes I've lost, like flying through those things, and then the queens keep shooting it, and I'm like, no, like, why are these things here? So that's going to be annoying for Medivacs as well.
Yeah. The battlecruiser also won't be able to escape quite as quickly, maybe like very, very top north. There's only 2 queens on top of it anyways, but that is a better defense than last game. About half the drones were killed. Feels a lot more confident as well. There's a single Marine here about to save the CC. That have to be repaired. Like, don't play around with it, I guess. There come the Hellions. But it is a bio follow-up. So, I mean, I feel like this is a little less potent, but it gives you that immediate follow-up. And Denver...
He doesn't know.
Denver is probably just anticipating the follow-up mech because that's been what's really good lately.
He absolutely is, Jazz. He's building a lot of roaches, thinking like, roaches are going to be good against these Hellions and Hellbats, and I can always use like corrosive bile and a couple of tanks, and then I'm going to go maybe Infestus. He could even make Swarmos, and that would be an absolute disaster, by the way.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. That is a response to user mech we've been seeing. I really hope that's not the case. But honestly, saving up a bunch of gas and minerals from Infestor is not much better.
I actually have the feeling that the fact that Denver is supply blocked here is really good because he's about to send an Overseer into the main base. So I don't know what he was going to make, but now at least he will know what he's actually playing against. So the fact that he was supply blocked there comes in really handy. Okay, it makes... I mean, Infestors are good against Marines regardless, but...
They are, but it's always so dangerous to do it off that low supply. It's usually a thing that you add as a support when you already have a decent amount of Roaches and usually Ravagers as well. So this early on, maybe they'll be able to catch the Medivacs. Maybe it is going to be the perfect response, but if it's going to be just into a tank push, that's when things get a little scary.
Bailing Nest immediately after Denver actually gets a proper scout there. Fires up quite a few links as well. The only sad thing is, though, he's not going to have any upgrades for those links, right? And 0-0 links and Banes against 1-1 bio, maybe 2-2 bio by the time that they actually have big and proper fights. Yeah, those are going to be very difficult fights to win. And once again, I'm starting to repeat myself, but I look at these economies and I'm like, 64 drones-ish, you know, against 61 SCVs. It really feels that Kelazhur is playing the kind of game that he wants to play. He's winning the little skirmishes, and he's absolutely winning the mind game so far. This is, once again, not looking good for Denver. And not that much has even happened in this game. A lot of subtle little things, but every little subtle thing went in favor of Kelazhur.
I am kind of liking this third base position the more I'm looking at it, though. Like, Kelazhur has to go really far down south and wrap around. There are rocks you could break down on the side there, but you're still going into this huge surroundable area if you actually want to push into the base.
But there's a Baneling Nest there as well. Imagine if the Baneling Nest gets sniped before Baneling speed is done. That's very bad. At least that's a good job there by Denver. He gets that first siege tank before that battle even truly kicks off.
Yeah, that was actually really nice. Like, the fungal wasn't, it's not as scary if there's, not Banelings rolling forward, which might happen later on. But getting rid of that tank, I'm just looking at it more just on the side of like, okay, well, actually, this tank push doesn't look that devastating. It doesn't reach anything.
Yeah, they're very far away, right? Like, imagine if they were a little bit closer, maybe get a tank on the low ground there, but still not in range. These Marines are not going to accomplish anything either. So I think you're spot on. Now Denver feels confident enough to go up to the high ground here. That is still kind of a tricky fight because these Marines do have upgrades, but in the end, the tank does go down. I do like the focus fire there on the Ravagers, but hey, that's a victory for Denver. Okay. And that's one that he desperately needed as well.
That was the fight that I was most scared of, with the Infestors coming out so quickly. But it was kind of the awkwardness of the new maps where a lot of Terrans actually, I know there's the, Terran 1, whatever, but there's like various reasons why they feel difficult, especially to play bio on. But I'll get to that after. We might lose a medevac.
Oh,
the darn inhibitor zones.
What?
Oh.
No.
Okay,
yeah,
there we go.
Still like the random 5 queens over there. So Mongo is going to land on this BC as well. The BC should be able to, I won't say get 1 queen, but that's not going to happen either. Yeah, I feel like that was a little bit desynced by Kelazhur, right? I feel like if maybe he would have waited a little bit longer, it would have been harder for Denver A to get up to that high ground. And if he hits him at the same time, that would have been a lot more difficult to defend as a Zerg. But it was kind of like, I've got an attack here, and I want to drag this attack out until I'm going to hit the main. But then he already lost the forces in the left bottom side, and then it became a lot easier for Denver to take care of the double drop as well.
Yeah, I think we are seeing the 4th base come down and an extended game, but even if it wasn't for the lack of pressure that Kelazhur can apply with the main pushing, and he's just dropping right now. Oh, that fungal is actually pretty good. Grabs one of the medevacs. Luckily, the bio, actually good focus fire on the Banelings as well, is able to escape. It could have been a little bit worse, but we are going to the late game. The map just doesn't seem to really accommodate any strong mid-game pushes here that I can really see. The middle can be a problem, but then you also are potentially surrounded at 3 or 4 different angles. So, by the way, this creep spread is already on the front door of Kelazhur.
It's so much better than Disco Bloodbath, right? Like where Denver barely got any spread going at all. That's obviously because of all those Hellions and the relatively ugly early game that he had to deal with. But this is starting to look a lot more like some of those latter games I've seen of Denver. He does a little stream once in a while as well. I really enjoy watching it. It's just starting to look a lot better. Now suddenly you look at it, it's like, hey, that's Chitin splitting on the way. That's really cool. While Drilling Claws is more of an answer against like Ling Bane, right? That's not necessarily what you want to get against Ultras, even though, Widowmines can always be annoying and they can always be effective, don't get me wrong, but the timings just feel a lot better. Denver had a very strong mid-game here.
Oh, we have another push, kind of setting up the 4th base as well. I like the idea of expanding towards a base, but I actually maybe would wanted it to the right, actually, as Denver also continues expanding to the right. But This out of the other. Infestors come forward, get a decent fungal. The tanks are getting all their shots up, though. Even some focus fire on the Infestors. And that is going to be a decent fight there for Kelazhur. Drop to the top side. Also going to try and grab a hatchery. Not going to happen, but at least it's picked up and will come back later or right then and there.
Yeah, that's very well done. That felt like such an unnecessary fight to take, by the way, for Denver. He's going to try to save that hatch, but he does not do it. It was so far away of anything. While the tanks were actually sieged up already. He's right before all of his upgrades. Look at that. +2, adrenal glands, chitinous plating. That didn't really feel like a fight he had to take, but he's still maxed out, and he did free up some supply to fire up the first couple of ultras. So it's not that bad yet, but he did end up losing a base on the top side.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, no drones were over there, so we have to replace those. It was just the hatchery. And as he does replace the inferior army with a bit of a superior one, I'm not too worried about him not having that fifth quite yet. Kelazhur is adapting to that late game. He's got a lot of Marauders. He's also getting more command centers. This guy was initially known for just how much he could drop in multitask, right? That's where a lot of our foreigner Terrans got their highlight was like, wow, this guy can do everything. And Kelazhur's still like that, right? He can still do it.
Yeah, never a dull series with Kelazhur. He's a very, very action-paced player. He's going to try to make this push happen one more time. Well, Denver actually has a lot of forces on the other side of the map. Kind of like that we still have this BC here, because there isn't that much anti-air. I don't know why he just blinked it forward, but that's what he's going to do.
You accidentally pressed stim and that teleports it, I believe. So anyways, it is part of the fight, but it was already going pretty well.
Yeah.
When Denver takes the fight on that high ground, that's when it's suddenly very effective, but it was also not all of his army. Some Banelings, a lot of Banelings crashing into the right side. Supply team was going to go down. Tank could try and soak up. Actually, Marauder's going to soak it up.
Isn't this like a little bit ambitious by Denver? He might do quite a bit, but Denver doesn't have that much money in the bank, which means he really has to start cleaning up these forces on the other side of the map, and he seems to be slowly but steady doing it. And this counterattack is actually sort of working out with a couple of SCVs going down, but that felt risky because he doesn't have a bank.
I mean, I didn't think it was that bad, really. The Banelings could have crashed into the mineral line and would have been a little more concerned. Ultra going to go down. Medevac's still alive here. No fungals have been coming down for a while. I guess Infestors have died or have just been too scared to actually get some decent ones lately. Battlecruiser finally goes down.
That feels broke, man.
Finally happening. But yeah, Denver, he got the fifth base up. He's on 81 workers. He will eventually accrue another bank.
Did he lose the Bailing Nest?
Like, Kelazhur's not stopping.
I think he did. It might have been the third. On the left side, yep. If I'm Kelazhur right now, it's pedal to the metal, I'd say. I mean, obviously going very deep into creep is dangerous. I do love burrow Banelings on the ramp.
I think those were Lings, actually, so not nearly as hype. If there were Banelings, that's going to grab a lot. And Denver certainly has had some great burrowed Baneling moments. I think he actually really needs to start getting into it, but kind of a counterintuitive. His creep spread's too good for really effective Baneling bombs defensively. But it is being cleaned up now by Kelazhur. Kelazhur's not going to stop pressuring maybe for a second here as he cleans up the burrowed Lings, but Denver, that might be the time that he needs to take a breath. He is also grabbing another base at the very top right, so 90 workers are gonna get mining, and he will be able to replace these armies. I think we'll feel a little bit better about that.
This is a little bit ambitious. A lot of ultras off creep. I don't see any Banelings to support this here. Really wants to get the planetary. Does get the planetary at the cost of 4 ultras so far. Maybe 5 actually.
6.
Yeah, that's an expensive snipey.
No. He's not gonna go for that. With the wall broken on the right side, you see Denver continuing to hit the natural, and this is not just SCVs going down. Like 8 at a time has added up quite a bit.
Yep.
It's also just distracting Kelazhur. Anytime that he can't focus on his army, it's very scary.
But if we look at the army supply, is there potential here for Kelazhur? The only problem is that it's so scary to go on creep, right? Like especially because now we do have Banelings again. So I can imagine it's going to be very, very hard to truly attack. But Kelazhur's army is actually way bigger right now than the army of Denver.
Yeah, defensively, I'm afraid, Kelazhur's going to go do okay there, and Denver might throw. That's what I'm afraid of, but I think that if Denver's the one that sits back and actually just continues to poke and prod, try and catch the army out of position, try and catch Kelazhur not paying attention to a specific army, that's when his maybe lower armor supply is still going to be very effective. But a big drop, a big fight also, and Kelazhur was a little late to that split, a little late to the reaction, but the split is good, the concave is good. Is there enough left over to take on the ultras?
The problem is most of the medevac's were way out of position, right? We do have a couple of medevac's on the right top side, so Kelazhur did strike back and finally got a base himself. It's a very action-packed game, and it's really becoming quite scrappy where The only thing is that Kelazhur really needs one more base, I feel, because those first 3 bases, they must start running dry anytime soon now. And you don't want to be a one-base Terran, obviously, especially not in such a back-and-forth game.
Oh, this happens so often when you're dealing with run-bys. He does have a lot of supply in the main. It looks like he's found it, so he's moved it away from the production. Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
That was actually kind of scary that I wasn't paying attention to that. Planetary is going to certainly help against these Ultras. The army is coming forward, but the Infestors are burrowed, ready to pop out and get those Fungals. SCV's actually, there we go. Now they're repairing that Fungal on the left side. Pretty darn good, and this actually might be it.
Wow.
Kelazhur, not enough army here.
Yeah, that was very, very well done there by Denver. Didn't have that many Infestors, but the Fungals he landed, he made them count. The Ultras survived, the Planetary went down. The Infestors do go down there on the top side in the end, but this is probably going to be it. Denver just has a little too much.
Yeah, and there was that weak moment where his economy was just getting recovered, but then it just like, it really skyrocketed.
Yeah.
2 bases come up on 90 drones. Yeah, you're going to have the bank to replace those Ultras. And he takes game number 2. A tied-up series for this best of 5. Really happy to see that. The first game didn't go so great for Denver. The first 5 minutes of this game didn't seem like it was going so great, but he recovers mentally and in the actual game.
Yep, very, very well done. I do think that Kelazhur is going to look back at it, and man, I actually had a pretty good setup at first with that army on the left bottom side, and he went for the double drop to the main base, trying to create 2 problems at once, but in the end it was more like 1 problem, and the next problem was a little bit later. Imagine if he just sends that double drop with the army that he had over there on the left bottom side. I actually think that Denver would be in a lot of trouble, because then he can just run up that ramp. He cannot take care of the first siege tank like that, and then if the Baneling nest would have been sniped until Baneling speed was done, yeah, that could have been a very dicey game. I think Denver knew it as well, but this game he sure as hell looked a lot better. Loved the creep spread, loved the activity with the units. This time the run-bys, they felt successful. Non-stop pressure as well. These are just 2 guys that love to be aggressive, and it makes for really fun StarCraft.
Yeah, a lot of action going around everywhere we were looking. Like scary moments for both sides in that game. But I did really like the start. You know, when you're drop heavy against someone who's like low on roaches and low on infestors as well, or doesn't even have infestors, he can go super, super well. And you're suddenly grabbing the expensive infestors, but he actually was able to take care of it, and he transitioned safely into the Baneling nest and into those Ultras. And the remax potential when you're on 90 drones and eventually those 5 or 6 bases is pretty insane.
Yeah, it was really good to see that Denver was never truly maxed out, or maybe like once or twice. Well, most of the time he was hovering around like 180, 186, but he actually just kept spending his money over and over and over again. And it's really easy to start floating a little bit, or suddenly like max out and then slow down the game, and then you have like a lot of minerals in the bank, which is not always a bad thing. But this time it really did feel like he got value out of the units. He got value out of most Ling run-bys, he got value out of the Banes, the Ultras. Yes, a couple Ultras went down from time to time, but he also got bases. And that's where things started to look really dicey for Kelazhur, because it's like, well, you're a 4-base Terran, but the main doesn't count, the natural doesn't really count, and your third is also running quite low, so technically you're 1.5 base Terran, and that's not where you ever want to be.
Yeah, if he had gotten like a fifth rather faster with that 4th, like right after, then I wouldn't have minded that 4th going down, but that wasn't actually the case. Just taking out the important bases one after another. We're on game number 3. It's Ephemeron, and the top left as the blue Terran, he is Kelazhur.
A much smaller map that should actually allow for a couple of very fun pushes from Kelazhur that could hit a lot quicker than on any of these other 2 maps we just saw. In the right bottom side, we're looking at the main base of a European Zergi hailing from France. It is Denver.
All right. What do you think about Ephemeron? This is the map we saw here Marine do, well, more mech on, I should say, actually. Did it in both of his games. But it does have that kind of high grounds, right? And exactly like King's Cove. But you got the bridge to kind of protect. Well, those bridges, yes, are very scary. Are very well used by Hero Marine, right? Those tanks on the high ground were really, really abusive. I don't know if Kelazhur took any inspiration from that.
I think it's a very cool map. I've played it quite a bit myself. I like it. It's actually the smallest map in our map pool. And it's still quite big, guys. Like, in the old days when we said this is the smallest map in the map pool, you pretty much spawned right next to each other, where it took like 6 seconds for your first stalker to run to the other side of the map. This map is a little bit bigger, but it is our smallest map right now. So I'm expecting a very, very action-packed game.
Yeah, this should be fun. Kelazhur has I mean, I would say successfully tricked Denver, you know, like going for battlecruisers and actually going back battlecruisers and then going just for the one, but it didn't work as effectively as he was hoping for. Denver was able to just kind of like smoothly use Roach and Fester as you would if that was your initial plan against Bio, and it worked out all right. So what has he got up his sleeve here? It is all about like the amount of builds that Terran has and the ways that they can try and trick out a Zerg, but with that more common pneumatized carapace, the Overlord's speed, it feels like the trickiness is just like you have to hope that they miss scout like that first game.
I'm going to ask you, is there a potential that we see Denver maybe be as aggressive as we saw Scarlet be earlier today? I feel like if there is one map where you probably want to run Roaches, Ravages, and Lynx to the other side of the map, I'd say it's this one.
I mean, it makes the most sense being the shortest, close to it, but I don't know. Like, Denver can be aggressive, as we've been saying. I definitely agree with that, but I feel like he's more aggressive in the run-by way, right? I'm going to take fights that maybe other more conservative Zerg players will not. As far as, like, actually all-inning, I don't know if he really... I don't see him as that player, although, of course, anyone can do it. When you're in a best-of-5, you got to be able to play to the best-of-5. But he's also not seen Kelazhur be too absurdly greedy, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but it's still like
knew.
a BC opener, right? And I think some of those BC openers, like it's double Reaper into BC, so it's not like Kelazhur has that many units at home. Definitely doesn't have a siege tank anytime soon. I mean, opens up with all these Hellions, so I'd say there is some potential for it, but maybe that's also one of these builds where if it suddenly doesn't work out or Kelazhur does scout it and he's super ready, you're gonna hate yourself. You're like, oh my god, why did I do that build, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that Kelazhur looks at this series, he's like, man, if I'm gonna beat Kelazhur here, man, this Reaper is super annoying. But I think that Denver is pretty confident here that he could potentially just win the series in a very straight up, fair way and not be too cheesy.
That one Reaper, man.
Yeah, super annoying. In the end, I must say good job at Denver keeping the drone alive and also getting the headshot.
Yeah. We do have a fusion core on the way. Very quick here. The Overlord's going to go directly to see it officially this time, sees it right from the get-go and can prepare his response to that. And that's like such an early scout that you might be able to be like, hold on, I actually want to try and punish that. But Kelazhur, of course, will be paying attention to the amount of units on the front line. Very active with his Hellions. Doesn't worry about the early run-bys. Kelazhur knows he's been scouted as well, and will be afraid of that. I'm sure he knows, right, how short the map is, how much potential there is to be busted.
Yeah, I wouldn't have hated it. If Denver would have decided to go for it on this map, I absolutely would not have hated it, but it's not going to happen. These Hellions will actually find, I want to say, a couple of drones, but so far it's just a single drone. These Queens are trying to do whatever they can off creep, but not the fastest unit in the game. There is a Roach Warren, but I think it's a little late to assume that he's going to try to bust here. It's a lot of Queens, though. I mean, could maybe see some Nidus play. It's possible, even though this map is not that big, but I believe that Denver might have enough. It's like, okay, if you're going to play just like 1 or 2 battle cruisers and a lot of Hellions, there should be a way to punish that. Whoa, okay.
Yeah, the Hellions finding a drone transfer could have been deadly.
So many Queens.
Yeah, well, I mean, you need a decent amount. I think you want like 6?
Oh,
like extra,
7.
that is, on top of the inject ones. So
9.
he's gonna go up to 8. So that's so far, yeah, 9 in total. There we go. Good math, Roddy.
I mean, 6 plus 3 is often 9. Like, extra factories on the way, by the way, for Kelazhur.
Much quicker for a lot than the first game when he went up to that mech. There were so many Hellions in that game.
A couple of extra drones on the way. I'm keeping a very close eye on that production tab because I still have the feeling that Denver might get a little feisty. He's got Overlord speed as well, so could potentially get really crazy with Dropper-Lords, you know, fly Queens to the other side of the map as well. It is an option. As long as siege tanks are not out, these things are possible. Battlecruiser jumps into the natural. There are Queens there, though, so 6-7 drones go down very quickly. That's a lot of damage this BC is taking. That's a lot of damage this BC is taking. That BC is gonna go down. That's big.
I was surprisingly close. I thought it was dead for sure, but it is dead, and that's like no more easy scouting around those naturals and mains. There's no more harassment there. It's just the Hellions to both protect and scout. And while there's not a lot of Roaches here on the floor, on the ground here, it is still a scary amount because you just don't have anything back at home. He's still building up his production.
I really feel that if Denver had a Nidus network and he would Nidus Knight, just win. There's like nothing to kill it.
He definitely hasn't prepared for a Nidus though, like mentally, and then as well. I think really enough gases. I mean, he's droning, of course. We see that on a production tab. He is not thinking about doing an immediate attack. He's thinking again about how he thinks dealing with Battlecruiser mech is supposed to be done. So obviously, it's the third time he's gone into pretty quick infestation pit. Maybe he changes it this time, but we'll see. As I was saying, that's not a lot of roaches, but it's enough to combat someone who just goes nothing but Hellions all the time. Those are the first 2 Tech Lab units coming out. Like, they're pretty late, and when the first one's a Cyclone, which isn't quite enough. There we go, tank on the high ground, and Hellbats would have bought enough time too, but it's not exactly scary. This was something that maybe if it had gone to the third base immediately, would have been able to deny it for a little while longer. And Kelazhur, well, actually already being denied. Overload creep spread, man.
I mean, I just felt that was kind of just like one of those, I'm sort of attacking, but I'm not really attacking. Like, I don't really want to commit. But you do end up losing all of those roaches before roach speed kicks in. And of course, Denver is creating space on his side of the map. And roaches are not the most expensive unit in the game. So I didn't really hate it. But I just look at it, and there we have a Nidus, by the way. Well, obviously, the infestation pit is up already, so we are going to see what he probably wanted to do on Winter's Gate if he went up against Mac, but then he realized he was playing against Bio. This time, he's actually playing against Mac, and we are going to see some Nidus Swarmos action.
Very cool. This can definitely work out. Eventually, we'll see as the game continues on, Spire added on. But, I mean, without any more Battlecruiser production, actually, he might not even need to do it. Kelazhur just losing the first one, kind of just gave up entirely on it, going into pure mech.
I thought there was one extra on the way, but maybe...
I thought there was 2.
I think he canceled it. I mean, I think... Oh, no, he has one.
Where is... It's not doing anything? Just catching a couple of Overlords now. It does take a while to build, so he just missed it actually completing.
It's on Nidus Patrol, actually.
Yeah. Well, it will be helpful for that.
Yep.
But it is just the one Battlecruiser, whereas the first game, you just kind of like added 1 at a time, and it slowly grew to 4 and then 5. Maybe later on we'll see that. I do have just the creep cleanup crew. Uh-oh. That's a nice round with the roaches. Finding the Cyclone, finding the Hellions.
I thought he was trying to block the access there. That would have been super cool. Like, hold position, all those roaches on the bridge, and that would have been awesome. First Nidus is going up on the right side there. Kelazhur losing those Hellions. It's actually quite painful, right? Because Hellbats are very nice against the Locust, even though you might end up losing a couple, but you don't want to lose your siege tanks. Those are the expensive units. I'm not really feeling this for Kelazhur. Like, I have the feeling that these Nidus are really going to hurt, and Denver is, I think, in general, a very fast player. So I think he's going to be able to get some pretty good value out of all these Nidus networks and these Swarmos.
There's like an immediate scout of the Locust, and then a blue flame started immediately, which he certainly does need. Now he can just pull these SCVs away, so he loses 8 of them. Well, hold on. No. Repair. Okay, that was too close for comfort.
There were 1 or 2 moments where the Locusts were move commanding and they were not actually attacking. If they would have just right-clicked on that orbital, I think he would have been able to easily get it.
Yeah, I think so. That was way too close. That was not supposed to happen. You pull away the SCVs, hope to take really like not a lot of losses, just lost mining time. That was a little bit more than that. This Nidus Swarm not going to do too much. Another one is on the right side. He's going to have 2 Battlecruisers soon to try and control here.
Tanks are very exposed. 1 tank goes down, the second tank goes down. All of these tanks will go down. Now it's just a couple Hellions. The BC does finally show up, but the next wave of Locusts is going to hurt like crazy here.
Yeah, the tanks on the high ground are kind of saving the day. 4th base is halted, but not killed. At Denver, Eric on the Locust, he's going to have to lift. Well, that 4th is now going to be canceled. They got to lift that 3rd CC and get out of there. The Hellions will, again, they'll buy time.
Tanks on the high ground. He's going to get a couple tanks on the high ground.
Yeah, well, the tanks.
Blue flame gets denied as well. Those are the last 2 tanks, by the way, I believe.
Yes.
Wow, I mean, this is not going anywhere for Kelazhur. You take a look at the map vision now as well. If you would take a look at Kelazhur's vision, that's always when you know you're not having a great time. You just don't see anything. And that's not the way you want to play any game, but definitely not against a Zerg that's popping up Nidus networks left, right, and center. Yeah,
Kelazhur really now just depending on these Battlecruisers, because there's nothing to kill them, to his credit. Like, he can depend on them for a little while longer. But when Denver's maxed out with roaches, I mean, yeah, Swarmos take up a lot of supply, but so many roaches, the Battlecruisers are not going to kill them fast enough. And on top of that, the Locusts, when they come out, as there's not Blue Flame, these Hellions actually do not look impressive against the Locusts.
No. This actually looks like a disaster for Kelazhur. I'm not exactly sure where this is going to go, but he's going to end up losing a couple of Cyclones. I don't think he's going to be able to pick up all these roaches. Maybe eventually with the BCs, but before probably losing like 40 SCVs or something. That 4th base is in a lot of trouble again. And as a Terran player, you desperately need it. Look at that orbital command. It's actually burning down, and that's going to be a GG gets called. Denver gets a very convincing victory here in Game 3.
Yeah, Denver definitely coming back from that initial game where it didn't look like he was too stable. He was still getting warmed up, but now he's really feeling it. You can see him bouncing in his chair, and he should, man. He's been making his way through the knockout bracket for the last, I think, 3 series, so he's been on the edge the entire time. and he's still working it, man. He might just get into that round of 24. Kelazhur maybe needs to play around maybe not battle cruisers, actually really change things up, or maybe just change up his follow-up. This is going to be an interesting one. So it's going to be a game 4, guys. We are going to take a quick break first, however. So when we come back, game number 4 between Kelazhur and Denver. It could be the final game here for this series, the last match of the knockout bracket. One of these guys is going to go to the round of 24 to continue their run. For these guys, it's got to be a miracle run, like literally getting first place to actually make it to BlizzCon. But either one of them reaching to a round of 8 or a round of 4 would be an absolutely crazy result for them.
Yeah, I mean, Diego's been there in the past, definitely a quarterfinal. Denver has never been there, but like I said, in WCS Summer, he actually had a fantastic performance. Round of 16, running into Cerro there, being down 0-2, winning game 3, and being miles ahead in game 4. I was like, oh my goodness, is this happening? It's like, out of all people, is Denver going to beat Zero here? And in the end, that didn't happen, but what could have been. And so far, he looks really good. We were a bit harsh on him in game one, and I can sometimes imagine that people at home might be like, wow, why are they being so rude to Denver? That's just because we know how good he is. We know that he was way capable of everything that he showed in game one, and he proved us right in game two, and especially game three. I mean, that was very convincing.
Yeah, game three was the especially convincing one. Changing up into the Swarm host, I think, did surprise Kelazhur a little bit, getting that blue flame only as he saw the first wave of locusts, and then that timing on the being canceled. But also just really superb play from Denver, hitting left, right, using the locust appropriately, and Kelazhur was contained. And he is not a player, even when he plays mech, like he usually wants to be out in the field with at least a battle cruiser, but that got sniped. That was the beginning of the game that set it up so poorly for him.
I mean, if you compare game one and game three, it's not very hard to pinpoint where things went right or wrong for a certain player. Game one, fantastic first battle cruiser. Game three, horrible first battle cruiser.
Yeah. As I said, it could be the last game here, guys. Triton, the bottom right, down by 1. It is the blue Terran, Kelazhur.
What are we seeing on that production tab?
Yeah.
In the left top side, we're taking a look at the main base of the French Zerg, who's got a very interesting opening here. It is Denver. That is a super fast extractor, mining gas already. I love it.
Yeah.
We all love Wadi TV.
Yeah.
How can you not love Wadi TV?
I don't know. You're crazy.
Yeah. I live for Wadi TV.
Well,
Loyal
interesting.
sub, 40 plus months at least, maybe 50 by now. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, no, me and Wadi, we close.
I think I'm in like the upper 20s. Yeah.
But we all got to start somewhere.
I'm sub for you for longer, though.
I'm sub to you for a very long time too.
Yeah. 'Cause we love each other.
And meanwhile, Twitch is looking at us like, yeah, please keep doing that, guys. Keep subbing to all of your friends. We love it.
Yes.
All right, the first links are on the way, so it's just going to be a very quick speed opening for now. Now, obviously, if Kelazhur does not SCV scout and he just sends his Reaper to the other side of the map, the links can avoid the Reaper, and these links can absolutely get a cancel on that command center, and that would be a disastrous way for Kelazhur to start this game.
Not to be too bold, but I already predict that to happen. Kelazhur is not SCV scouted, and Denver probably noticed that. It's not particular to the map. Triton's actually the middle rush distance amongst the map pool, so it's not like it's going to hit that much faster, but it is going to be a big surprise, a real change-up of how the first 3 minutes of this game has been played. Kelazhur is going to have a single Marine to help out.
Reaper.
Yeah, no second Reaper this time. But even if he did, it's speed. It's speedlings this time. It's not just the sixlings trying to get that CC right before you have enough to defend it. It's speedlings. They will tackle the Reaper. They'll certainly take care of this Marine. You pretty much just have to cancel this.
Yep. No, this is going to be bad. The best thing that Kelazhur can do here indeed is just cut his losses, cancel immediately, rebuild on high ground. But Terran players don't like to do that. They always think they can save it. They're like, oh, I'm just going to buy some time. I like how he's hiding the other links though. He's actually going to try to get in. The extra links will get in the main base as well. The Marine went down, and now this is an absolute disaster for Kelazhur.
Oh, wow. He took so long to lift that. And the Reaper was all the way across the map, now making his way home. And as I said, it's actually not safe against the speedlings. He's going to have to go ahead and use that Reaper hop-up cliff, and then while he's doing that, the SCVs are going to lose their lives. Now, it's kind of weird because 6 lings, if it's like a perfect scenario, the SCV plus Reaper can tackle them without losing 2 more. But that is the perfect scenario, and meanwhile, there are more lings tackling the CC, so no, cheeky, I'm actually still building that. That will have to be canceled, hopefully. Canceled, it is. But it looks like it's not going to be the end of the game. It just got really scary.
Okay. Got very close to grabbing this around there a couple of times. The Lynx will finally... No, they will not get the Reaper. That's an excellent save there by Kelazhur, who's still at 24 SCV, so that's not as bad as it could have been, but I still think that Denver is going to be very pleased with this, because how is Kelazhur going to be aggressive in the next minute or two?
Yeah, well, the Hellions still have to be produced.
Whoa,
I mean, I think
whoa.
I do actually like the follow-up third CC. So he's going to have very limited scouting. He's going to be afraid to send those Hellions immediately out on the map because there could be lings waiting to run into what is obviously not a walled natural as he tries to set that down, but that's even going to take a while, right? Still only halfway done. So I like the follow-up. I think that was good crisis management. I think the best would have been maybe not, actually looked in the supply depot, but for what it was good. And Kelazhur even does get his Reaper across the map to scout the immediate follow-up, making sure that it's not an immediate, any more lings. He sees a decent drone count. He doesn't see an additional gas. That is nicely done. Certainly worth sacrificing that.
So Denver is still on 2 bases. Actually goes up to 3 bases now. Maybe was hiding the drone already. I didn't see it move out. We'll see what Denver decides to do. Often I do feel when players suddenly open up very aggressive, they do have another aggressive follow-up. Maybe a little bit later down the line. Obviously not of a super wonky, winky-dinky economy. Like a little bit better, but we'll see. Maybe Denver will just macro his way out of here, and he's very happy with what he accomplished because obviously the natural has been delayed. But we do see a bailing nest. Could just be as a safety bailing nest against the Hellions, obviously.
Yeah, I think it is just a safety bailing nest. We should see a layer start in the next 30 seconds to kind of be the equivalent of a normal time, considering the opener. But eventually we'll see it, maybe after Carapace and the Overlord speed is done. Couple lings just to make sure the Hellions don't just run in. The Battlecruiser is on the way. Denver, of course, not getting the fastest Overlord speed, will not get that really advanced notice, but he will still be able to get, well, not if he loses the Overlord first. Hold on.
Overlords are fast.
Okay, there we go.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, he's going to be all right. So he's going to see the non-researching tech lab that's already the tell, and then the fusion core is also going to be scouted in case that was just a very rare, but still does kind of happen, Banshee without cloak.
No, absolutely. I still think that Hellion Banshee is actually not a bad opening because I still feel like you're almost guaranteed to get some damage done and you force out a lot of units, especially if your multitasking is very good. I still kind of believe in the Hellion Banshee.
No, I like it, but it is... Yeah. If you only get the one cloakless Banshee, it's kind of like for safety, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, people don't want to go for it as much as they certainly want to go for battlecruisers. And that's what we have here. We do have the Yamato follow-up, so I do expect Mech following this up as well.
What's the queen count right now? Because this was obviously slightly different. Okay, we are at 6 queens with a 7th queen on the way. I don't know, Kelazhur is going to have to be a lot more careful with his first BC, that's for sure. This is not the kind of game where you want to end up losing this bad boy. He jumps towards the 3rd base. There are 2 spore crawlers here, but there should be at least a couple of drones that go down. That first queen is a little bit exposed. The first queen does go down, so that's nice. That's something.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's certainly... Oh, no, this is something, too. The Hellions a little out of position. The mule does get grabbed. It wasn't even that, healthy of a mule, and that's not so bad. That could have been a lot worse. As the Battlecruiser also could have miss-microed, but very conservative play this time with the Battlecruiser. I definitely prefer that.
Yeah, we saw the power of getting 2 or even 3 battlecruisers. I think back of Hero Marine against Lambo, what we saw yesterday, those 3 BCs, man, they were just wreaking havoc in the middle of the map, running down queens everywhere, getting Overlord kills. It was really cool to see. Because, actually we see a Spire. That's the very first Spire we see in this entire series.
Yeah, he's been responding with the Infestation Pit, which I felt was a little out of the usual from we see what players are doing. Of course, they eventually get to the Infestors, but we have been seeing a lot more of those fast Spire responses, and I thought that was what was leading the meta. But Denver now adding that on, we'll see how he runs with it. We'll also see if Kelazhur is able to scout that. He's been used to dealing with Infestors and then just now Swarm Hosts. So is the Spire not going to be scouted? It's probably not going to be scouted easily. It's in the natural there, so once the scan goes down.
See, that's a lot of damage going down on these queens, and I don't know if the second battlecruiser can maybe show up and start assisting these Hellions. Denver only losing a single queen there so far, but there is that battlecruiser, and then I suddenly like that Hellion fight a whole lot more.
The Baneling's still going to stop the Hellions from trying to rush in. Sees a couple of roaches as well. Lings, though, once again, this is really nice, but the Hellions were just in the main base chilling, so they respond pretty quickly. 5 SCVs go down, but he's doing a decent bit on the front line, catches a drone.
So what is happening? Is that not a wall up, or were the depots just down over and over again?
I think they're just down. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you kind of expect, especially when you do what Kelazhur does, when you just consistently make those Hellions, you don't transfer the factory at all. You kind of expect that you'll have some. Like, the production should hopefully match up with the run buys. It's just that either they're out of position or out on a map. So 12 SCVs go down that time. That's actually quite a good grab. But as Kelazhur takes a 3rd base, I'm still more concerned about the lack of, tech scout. Because he also has never, gone into... He's never been too quick about going into, a lot of Cyclones or, definitely not Thors. Yep. So we're also talking about a lack of defenses against anything that can happen. It's not going to be any type of cute little Muta play first. It is right into those Corruptors, but I'm even worried about missile turrets not being available around that 3rd. There's pretty nasty attacks with Roach Corruptor here.
Yep, you are spot on. With only 3 BCs, that's going to take a little while before you can take care of those Corruptors. And if the Corruptors do take care of it, the Roaches suddenly become a much bigger problem, or even Caustic Spray. I mean, it's an ability we don't talk about that often, but it can be super annoying to deal with if you just have no anti-air at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a nice initial scout on the Corruptor. It could have definitely been later if you just if, well, Denver had actually kept the Corruptors back, could have kept that a secret a little bit longer, then maybe Kelazhur continues making tanks. And then I'm really, really scared, but he does transfer over into those Cyclones, starts the upgrade, starts engineering bay as well. You'll definitely want to protect yourself against this push.
I'm actually kind of surprised by the amount of units that Denver is creating right now of 69 drones.
Yeah,
Definitely doesn't have all 4 bases saturated. He's going to hit some sort of an anti-timing when it comes to upgrades, because flyer attacks is most likely not going to be done. Carapace is not going to be done either. Does find a lot of these Hellions here, but I think in a way that's kind of a good scout for Kelazhur as well. Be like, whoa, okay, you're getting adventurous with these roaches. All right, all right.
Yeah, I think this is what we saw yesterday, but then it went really poorly. Here, Marine. Oh, no!
Oh, that's bad. Oh.
That was not supposed to happen. That's supposed to be, like, barely grabbed over a bunch of missile turrets and Cyclones on the offensive, not on the defensive, and super easily. So the Kelazhur not actually starting this out too well. He's trying to build a wall. He's trying to build those missile turrets, but was that too big of a loss?
I mean, there are still 2 battlecruisers remaining. The tanks are in good positions there. The first tank does get sniped. I mean, Kelazhur doesn't have that many units, so every unit is going to have to put in the work there. The tanks are getting really good shots up, but the second BC rather goes down already as well. Just 1 more remaining, and the supply of Kelazhur is dwindling.
Yeah, it is. This is something that Denver can definitely replace. It's not like he's at 40 drones. At 68, 4 bases. He can just continue pressing that R button to hold down and just make roaches. He's also going to have the Carapace finally finish up here. Corruptor's going to go ahead and take out some of these factories, potentially, or at least stop the SCVs from mining because they're forced to repair. I think this is it. Denver with the perfect attack.
Denver's smiling already. He knows it. He's all over the production of Kelazhur. He's getting the last few tanks. The last few Hellions go down as well. GG. Denver once again breaks into the round of 24.
Yeah, that was a long, grueling process in the knockout bracket for him. He's up against a very scary Terran versus Zerg player, but he's able to do it, and I'm really glad to, because that first game had me worried about his mental state, but he really recovered, showed that he could adapt and do different things against the styles that Kelazhur was playing. All around, really nice play. That's why he's able to survive so far.
A really good run. Already had an emotional tweet earlier this weekend. XD, I'm playing great after dropping out in the group stage that he did not plan on dropping out of, but he is looking good. He got his act together, and he's on stage with Cloaken.
That's right, Kev. I'm right here with Denver. Denver, congratulations. You must be very relieved on that match. You fought back from your first loss in Game 1 to Game 2. Talk to me a little bit about your strategy. How did you regroup with your mental state and attack a formidable opponent like Kelazhur?
I was actually very worried before the match. I think I knew it was going to be a close match, but I was not very confident about winning the match. And the first game, I had a lot of pressure, and I did a lot of misclick, and it was very annoying. Then second up, I was like, if I lose the match, I'm gonna be out of the tournament. So let's go and just win.
Well, you hang on, you advance to the round of 24, which is fantastic. Now, I know last year you fell in the round of 16 to Euthermal, I believe. Is your goal to push past that this year? Do you think you can do that, break through that barrier?
That's what I'm aiming at. But the thing is, I have zero. If I beat, so my next opponent is DNS, and then if I win DNS, it's gonna be zero. So why not?
There's always a chance, my man. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you move on. One more hand here, folks. We're moving on back to the desk there with you, Kelazhur.
That's right, a positive outlook for Denver there as he's able to get himself the victory. A hard-fought victory and a well-deserved one, to say the least. 3-1 over Kelazhur here, one of the WCS veterans for fall 2019. Joining me, Nathanius and Pig. Guys, Denver rocking it out. 3-1 in his favor.
Yeah, that was awesome. Just a nice comeback after a rough first game where it felt like drones were just getting toasted left, right, and center. But rallied after that one and just kind of looked like he could pull together a very strong ZVT. Roddy had his faith well placed there. You know, he said Denver was the favorite. So I thought it was going to be a 3-2, but turned out he was very strong in that matchup.
Definitely so.
Yeah, Denver reacted and played very well there. I mean, Kelazhur bringing out the battle cruisers, bit of that Cyclone mech, and it can be really, really difficult. It can be really frustrating trying to catch those big chonkers as they just teleport in, kill half your drones, and fly away. But definitely some room for improvement there. I mean, some of the mistakes out of Kelazhur just the battle cruiser that died to the Queens early on in the second game. You really, it's such a momentum-based strategy that when you go for those builds, you need to account for everything, because losing one early on, you're like, well, how much value does it really have? But then you look at some of the pushes, the counterattacks that you're able to make with those big swells of roaches. You need every single one alive to be able to hold down. And in that last game, recognizing when those corruptors are going to be coming out, having turrets to anchor the position so that you can try to hold. Because if the BCs can't assist those handful of tanks against the Roach Ravager, you're going to get overwhelmed every single time.
Pig, you're very studiously looking down at that laptop. What's happening over there?
Just getting updated on all the results, sorry.
Okay.
We've just seen Harstem close out the series 3-2 versus Cyan. Real nail biter. There was like a one-base disruptor build going on before. This is just another match that I've just hopped in to check, so we don't need to necessarily check. This is the last one going on in the knockout stage. Since I am on the stream there, that is of course over on a few of the B streams. Cham vs Hellraiser I think is the last match of the knockout bracket to be played.
And just as an update, Cuddle Bear's tremendous run was ended by Mana 3-0. It was a tough match to watch. The games weren't crazy short, but Mana just with experience and that legendary prowess he's always had, able to come out on top.
I mean, of course, we will get to talk more about Mana, I think, later on in the tournament here, but like for Cuddle Bear, that's a massive run that he had through the knockout bracket. And again, it's kind of testament to the knockout bracket doing what it was meant to, which was giving some of these players opportunities to have that kind of miracle run down there to be able to move all the way.
Well, we love underdog stories in North America, so I think I speak for everyone when I say love being able to watch these players kind of build these stories, because normally his would just end. But here instead, he beat quite a few players that I think the last couple matches, like I would say that those are pretty good results for him. He's popped into Challenger a few times, but he hasn't like impressed us or like caught our attention in the same way that some players like Future, Epic, or Estrella have. But still, he manages to outdo quite a few of them with just that result alone.
That's an awesome Terran versus Zerg. I mean, seriously, we've been talking about kind of these up-and-coming NA players, and I think often it's hard for the people at home to appreciate how big the step is, right? To get from making it into maybe a challenger round of 16 to actually performing this deep in one of these tournaments. And when you're going up against veterans, you know, people like Xanster that he took out in the bracket, that's huge. Going down to Mana, no shame there. I mean, Mana has literally been winning tournaments since 2012 and still making it to finals even last year. So no shame going out there for Cuddle Bear. I think he's definitely on all of our radars now.
There's always a Mana show up almost every year, as you're mentioning there. But let's take a look at the bracket, of course, as we've almost completely entered all of the data that's going to be coming in. We're just waiting.
Completely.
You know what? Sometimes English is a hard language. Hellraiser versus Cham is the one match that we still do not have concluded, down towards the bottom, and they'll be going up against Showtime. And
that just end.
We have a lot of matches of, you know, the same country going up against the same country here down in this bracket to start things off.
Quick update, Cham has just closed it out with a Nidus Worm, big roach attack, big mid-game Nidus, 3-1 against Hellraiser. So Cham's going to be progressing there.
That's good for Cham. I think there was... Cham, was it 2018 or 2017, was really on people's radars. Like a top 8, constantly being able to try and push. But it's not been as easy, I think, for 2019, it's fair to say.
Yeah, and I feel like I think some of the Latin American players, other than Special, just haven't been getting quite that same kind of like stage time that we've been talking about. Like, there's some results here and there. There's some WCS points, of course, but that... Special, let's be fair, he also elevated himself in a way with some of his performances in contesting these other top players that he has even more so had that focus on him. But yeah, that's an awesome result for Cham. And
we will be covering 2 matches in the round of 24, and then we'll be moving on into that round of 16 later on. And ladies and gentlemen, the next match on the main stage is Scarlet versus Massa, live here in Canada. So that is going to be a very, very exciting one. I can even hear the crowd already getting hyped for it. We're going to go to a short break, and when we return, more here from Montreal WCS Fall.